Coffee with the Coach continues as we make a stop in London with the Beefeaters. Head coach Matt Snyder is on the line. Hi, Matt.
How are you? Good to have. Thanks for having me back.
No
Always
problem. You have your coffee, okay? That's awesome. Are you a coffee guy? Do you drink a
Oh
lot of
yeah,
coffee?
like I live on coffee. Yeah, I'm almost exclusively a coffee guy. So yeah.
What do you put in your coffee?
Oh, like I'm a huge like flavored creamer guy. Like I want the more flavorful. Like we're big like Snickers flavor, Twix flavor,
Really?
anything. Yeah, super like I'm super soft when it comes to coffee creamers. But yeah, love it. So.
You ever dip the actual chocolate bar into the coffee?
I've never gotten that far, but we got a good. I think it's like a cannoli flavor, so it's pretty tasty. That's what I
Oh,
went with this morning. So
good. Well,
yeah,
let's talk football here. How are things shaping up? It's the week of the first game.
yeah, it's been great. Like it's been a great off season for us, just because like I really like our team. We have good kids, and it's been enjoyable to coach them because we just got a bunch of guys that are really working hard, and I feel like they really want to be there. So it's been a fun year so far, and there's been like I've yelled a lot this year, but that's just kind of my nature. But yeah, it's been great. I'm excited to play, and good first week against Ottawa. It's kind of like it's a good place to start the season because we had a couple tough games against them last year, and I feel like they're going to be ready to go, and we're ready to play them. And really like their coaching staff down there, and I'm pretty good buddies with Kevin, so it's good team to start the season off. A good rivalry and two evenly matched teams, and should be a good contest.
Playoff rematch, isn't it?
Yeah, we played them in the semis last year, and
Yeah.
we came out on top, but I know that they've been working hard too. And I know I talked to Kevin maybe 2 weeks ago, and I know he's had his guys locked in on us for a while, and we've been locked in on them. So I feel like both teams are going to show up ready to play ball, and it should be a good one to start the year.
Do you like getting your longest road trip out of the way first too? It's like a 7-hour trip to Ottawa.
I do actually like it. It's a good opportunity for the guys to bond on the bus,
Sure.
and I'd rather go down there in August than October, I guess, and we get cheap accommodations because we stay on residence before the students come back. So that's always good when you can save some money as well.
Yeah. What about the weather there on Ontario? Like the rest of the province or the country, really, is smoke has been a factor with all these wildfires. Did it affect your progress?
Yeah, we had there's a couple weeks, maybe like started July when it was pretty smoky in London, and I think as it traveled through the province. So we had a couple ones where it was pretty smoky, and just like everybody, we were monitoring it pretty regularly. I was monitoring it, talking to our men people about the weather, and we practice at night, so it's a little bit cooler for our guys, and we didn't have any practices canceled by it, but we were definitely on top of it, making sure that our guys understood, like, hey, if you're gonna be outside a lot during the day working, getting water, and we changed a little bit of our practice plans to get our guys regular water breaks, and probably gave them a little bit more water breaks than we would regularly just to keep them hydrated and stuff. So it's one of those things that it's you got to deal with it, and everybody's kind of dealing with the same distractions. So just got to find a way to make it work and accommodate as much as possible. So
So are you guys now where you think you need to be going into the first game?
actually, yeah, I feel in pretty good shape about where we're at. We did our scrimmage, our preseason scrimmage yesterday morning. So we did 11 o'clock. We started on the field, tried to pick a time when it would be a little bit hotter just to get our, like I said, we practice in the evening. So we don't get a ton of opportunity with our guys in the sunlight. So felt it was important to get out, do some kind of daytime practice. We went out, we had a mock game where we went through a bunch of special team scenario stuff. Then we finished with about a 35-minute scrimmage. Gave a lot of our young guys a good amount of reps. Got out in the heat, got out in the sun, and felt like we came out of that feeling pretty good. Like, okay, I feel like we're ready to go, and we got a good amount of guys back from last year that have already been through the routine. So it was actually a pretty successful day for us in terms of operations wise. We got through what we needed to get through pretty quickly. We were almost bang on schedule, and as far as the times of how I laid stuff out. So I think we're about 4 minutes over what I kind of planned we would be. So yeah, I feel pretty good about where we're at. I mean, obviously we haven't played a game yet, so you never know until you get on the field and play. But as far as kind of gauging it compared to previous teams I've coached, I think we're right on track with where we want to be.
You learn a lot more when it's a scrimmage atmosphere compared to just a practice.
Yeah, for us, the big focus was on. So we have like a mock game format that we do where we will come out, walk through like our pregame routine, so our guys understand like how things are going to work on game day, and then we go through a probably like a 42-point script of just different special team scenarios. Like, so we might go like, kickoff, and then defense is on the field. Then we'll sub in our punt return team, and then we'll have our offense come out. We might do like our starting offense versus like our young defense, kind of like 3 plays, not really like full contact, but we're just kind of walking through. And then, okay, punt team comes on. We're subbing from the sidelines. We want it to be as close to game-like as possible, so we get the headsets out, have our game strat going. We're having all our coaches on the sideline. So we're trying to just create as much games-like scenario as possible. And then my job is just to create, I guess you call it like duress. So the guys are constantly under pressure to do things. So I'll just all of a sudden be like, hey, this guy's injured. Like, coaches, what's the next guy in? Like, create a substitution scenario. And we go through a bunch of scenario stuff like, okay, what happens if we're short a guy in this scenario? Here's how we're going to react. Okay, it's 3rd and 1. We think they're going to bring a block. Here's our calls we want to make. So it's a good practice for us because it gets you I think it gets you as close to a game-like condition as possible without actually playing a game. And it definitely a little different vibe than a practice where practice you're going to be teaching a little bit more at the start of the season. And as you get close to the game, you're trying to rep plays and get as many repetitions on stuff as possible. So yeah, it's important for us. It's something I'm a huge proponent of. Last year, we built it into our practice structure. This year, we wanted to do a dedicated day with it, and we'll continue, I think, moving forward to do a dedicated day, usually the first Saturday before the regular season, where we can just go through this routine. And I'm a big fan of it. So
Yeah, I'm sure the players appreciate that too, because all of a sudden there's a sense of urgency. If a player does go down or this scenario happens, they feel a little bit more prepared.
always, that's exactly like we talked after as coaches, like I said, I knew I was going to yell the first 10 minutes about something just because you get all the young guys. Some of them have never played. Like we get a lot of guys right out of high school. We are a team that wants to recruit players out of high school and bring them through our program. So we had a lot of guys. Like first thing I told them is, for you high school players, like guys that were in high school last year, you're going to play an extra quarter in this league because it's 15-minute quarters. It's not 12-minute quarters like high school. So you're going to play an extra quarter. Also, like the urgency is going to be a lot higher. So the first like 20 minutes, I think a lot of young guys are getting acclimatized. Like, wow, this actually moves very fast in terms of like how the operations goes. But after like 10, 30 minutes of it, the guys you see the intensity pick up. And I think as we left, guys really understood that this is the tempo we want to operate with. So that's part of it, is just getting your guys a chance to go through the process and kind of learn. And that's what football is about, teaching. So
are you yelling less as the practice goes on?
Yesterday, oh yeah, like at the start, and like I said, I knew I was going to yell about something just because you have to create a little bit of like, hey, there's some urgency here, guys. We're not out here like having a picnic. So kind of just, if somebody makes a mistake and a guy forgets to go on special, like, oh, we got to pay attention, like lock in. And then by the end of it, like we're humming along. Like I think our guys, like I said, I think they figured out what we wanted, the coaching stuff. And that's the other thing. It's for the coaches as well. They got to kind of get back into the game mode because those guys haven't coached the game in a year. So just getting them back into it. And by the end of it, like I said, we were humming along, and we got through the last like maybe 15 kind of points that we want to hit on pretty quick. And then we were right on schedule. We finished at 104 and we wanted to be done by 1:00. So we got everything we wanted to get done and picked it up pretty good. It definitely wasn't the worst one we've been a part of, I told our guys. So
well, that's always good reinforcement for the players. This isn't you aren't the worst.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any position still for grabs here a week of the first game, or are you still set on who's going where?
We got a pretty good idea. I think a good amount of spots. D line is a position where we like made a dedicated emphasis on. We had to recruit D linemen. We just, not that our D line last year wasn't strong. We didn't have a lot of guys back from last year. We graduated a lot of D linemen. So I feel D line we're pretty deep in that we have probably 4 ends that we feel, those guys can go in a game and they're not going to let us down. And then we got 4 D tackles, and we're always going to be looking for linemen. I think everybody in the country is going to be always, if a lineman calls them, you're going to take that call. Quarterback wise, we're kind of settled on our top 2, and we have like kind of what we call like a 1 and a 1A, and that we'll use one guy, but we have another guy back from last year who we're going to use situationally, and we feel pretty confident that he's got some skill set that he can bring to our team. And then receiver wise, I think we're pretty good there in terms of we return a bunch of guys, and we're going to have a bunch of guys from last year's team who are going to get the opportunity to start this year. Running back is probably going to be the biggest battle just because we're so deep there. We have 3, like I would call them starting caliber players. LJ Dyer's back from last year. Jeff Blubine, who was the OFC Rookie of the Year in 2021, did not play last year. He's back, and he's just in amazing shape. He kind of showed up on our doorstep a week before campus, said, like, I want to come back. We're like, okay, come on out. He showed up. We're like, you've been working out. And then we recruited Luca Rosello, who was a player that was at Western when I was on staff there. who I'm a huge fan of. So we're 3 deep at running back, kind of what we call like our top tier, and then we're just gonna let those guys battle it out. LJ's a returning OFC All-Star, and he's probably our main guy to start with, but those other guys are gonna carry. So I would say running back's probably where the most competition is. Linebacker's probably the position where we got a couple questions we got to answer, and we'll play through a couple games and start to see what we got there. That's probably the youngest spot on our team in terms of we graduated 2 of our 3 starters from last year's team, and actually 3 of our 4 starters from last year's team. And so that's the position where we probably feel like we're a little bit maybe the youngest. So that's
What about
been
the
a
teams?
good offseason so far.
Yeah. What about the teams around the league? You mentioned you talked to Kevin in Ottawa. St. Clair's always good.
Yeah.
Do you know much about the other teams? Hamilton, Quinty?
Yeah, I mean, I try to chat with all the coaches. I think it's important that the coaches in the conference have a good relationship with each other, professional relationship. So I think it maybe just creates a little bit more opportunity if there's a situation where we can work together for something that's for the benefit of us all. Like, we're all very competitive. We all want to beat each other. But I think when you have that kind of like respect where you can call a guy and say like, hey, I need to chat with you about a situation. So I talk to Kevin quite often. Barry, the new head coach in Hamilton's a guy that I've actually known a little bit before he came on board. And I have a pretty good conversation with Mike Samuel from Hamilton as well. I actually talked to Coach Chance last week. That article came out about him and 20 years as the head coach of the program. I read that article. I was like, that's amazing. I'm going to shoot him a message. So I shot him a message just saying like, hey man, that's an amazing thing. And I feel like, Windsor and London have a bit of a rivalry, but he's a guy that's been around doing it for such a long time that I want to tell him like, hey man, that's amazing. And you deserve a congratulations from our program. So I had a chat with him and he came back with a really nice message as well. So as far as how the teams will look, it's the league, the nature of the junior football is like, there's always going to be turnover. So sometimes it's hard to see like, hey, I know these guys are back, but I don't know, like maybe that guy didn't come back for some reason. So I think you have a pretty idea of maybe like the main 5 or 6 guys everybody's bringing back, but you never know. People will post stuff on social media. Some teams are very active on social. Some teams, maybe keep things a little bit closer to the vest. First couple of weeks is where you figure it out. I expect that St. Clair will be very strong. I think based on what they did last year through the league and how they kind of handled us at the end of the year, they definitely deserve the chance to be the team to beat. I think coming into the season, they are the unclassified, like they're number 1 in the league, and somebody's got to beat them to take that. So I expect that they'll be very strong. And Coach LaChance, like he's an excellent recruiter. He has a very strong nose for finding talent across the country. So they're going to be very good. I feel like Ottawa in their second year back there's no way they don't improve. They got better every week last year, and they will definitely be better now. I know Kevin's put a ton of time in. Hamilton with Coach Emo, like I know him. He's a very disciplined guy. I feel like he will get that program clicking, and they will play it might take them a couple games just to get, kind of in the process. But at some point they're going to start playing exactly how he wants them to play. And I feel like he has a very clear idea of what kind of team he's looking to create there. Quinty has a new head coach. He's very experienced. I imagine that they're going to be very strong. Definitely at quarterback play, they're going to be a very strong team because he's an excellent quarterback coach. In Toronto, like just a team that has a ton of great athletes, and they're always a team like you got to take them seriously because they got good players there. So it's going to be a competitive league, and you got to beat good teams to win no matter what. Every week's a good battle for us. So
it's going to be a good one in Ottawa. Are you excited for the first game, or is the stress level a little higher?
I want to play. We've been practicing. I feel like we've been practicing for a year. We started off off season. We did some winter practices. We did 4 winter practices. Then we did a spring camp in April. We started our Monday nights in June. So we just finished, I think, like our 14th practice since June 1st. We're 14 practice is a lot of practice before you play a game. We're at the point now where we need to play. Our guys need to play. I think they're getting sick of practicing each other, and we need to just go out and get through a game and see like what do we have to work on now, because there's a lot of stuff. Our defense has seen our offense a lot. It's starting to get very contested. They're like where it's hard to run plays and it's hard to get pressures on us because we've seen their blitzes, they've seen our plays. We need to play somebody new and get into the season routine. So I think we're right on schedule where we want to be. It's time to play, and we got one more week, and then next Saturday we're kicking off, and it's probably good for us. We need to get out and play, get a game action in. So
yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. Coach, thanks for doing this, and we'll catch up to you on the road.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.